Good morning. I'm here with Riyaz Rauf from Sanjay 21. Thanks for being here, Riyaz.
Good morning, Varun, and thank you very much for having me.
Perfect. We trying to arrange this for a long time, and finally we find the timing and put this together. So let's have a open discussion about what's happening.
Sure.
So, what are you seeing, Riyaz? Like, you work with a lot of first-time home buyers. What are you seeing in a first-time home buyer's mindset, and are they shifting more towards buying more than ever before, or they're finding this market is more for them?
See, very good question, Varun. As you know, say 3-4 years ago, we were primarily working mostly with investors. And at least 50% of our buyers were investors. But what we have seen in the last 18 months, it's almost 90% are first-time home buyers, because the first-time home buyers come with a lot of energy and no baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have any investment that they have done or over investments that they have done.
So they're not leveraged.
They are not leveraged and stuck. And it's also a time where investors are not breaking even with the rates, are not in the market. And also people who want to upscale are also not in the market. So you are basically the only competition they may have is people who want to downgrades are not, they upgrade themselves. So a lot of choices in the market. And we did one transaction, Varun, that say the house was bought for less than for around 800,000 with 55,000 down payment.
Yeah.
The mortgage payments are like 3,500, with property taxes comes to about 4,000.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there is built up payment equity monthly of about 1,000.
You're paying the
principal payment, and that comes to about 1,200. And then you got a basement which is rented for 1,000. So you're owning that home. Real expense is less than 1,500.
Yeah. Which is a very point to look at it. And also you work with a lot of new to Canada as well. So when you work with someone from new to Canada, what are you seeing them? Like they are waiting to get into the housing, or they are starting the foot in the door with the condos?
See, it's interesting when you say new to Canada. There are two ways of looking at it, and probably I'll explain it later. But when you look at most people who are new immigrants, they always go into the rental stage, and because you need to have a permanent residency or citizenship, or a work permit, or a protected status with particular requirements
to
own a house.
Yeah.
But what I am seeing is most people doesn't realize that they can buy a 700,000 house with $45,000 down payment.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't realize, because you have to pay only 5% and 10% on those. So when you break it down, and when they calculate, I'm sure, Varun, this is something that you explained to me some time ago. When you look at the mortgage expense, always break it into two things, where the principal component and the interest component. Interest component is something that is the expense for you. If that interest component is less than renting a house, it's time to rent. Time to buy.
Absolutely.
Time to buy. Thank you for bringing that up, Varun.
No. And even so, back then, even the condo market was not sustainable for someone who has all the status starting to work. But now the condos has become more affluent and more achievable. And even you can buy a 2-3 bedroom condos and you can raise a family.
Correct. The good point that you brought up is because, say, for example, if you take 1 year or especially 2 years ago, condos were not affordable.
Yeah.
Right? And even when it's not affordable, what you ended up buying is maybe a 1 bedroom or a 1.5 bedroom, where an immigrant cannot bring up his family for too long.
Correct.
But on the other hand, the condo prices have softened now so much that you can buy a 2 bedroom for the price that you were paying for a 1 bedroom before.
Yeah.
So it's a good stepping stone for a family too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you brought an interesting discussion about GDP. What are you seeing on GDP?
See, surprisingly, we managed to avoid a recession, because recession is back-to-back 2 quarters.
Yeah.
From the last quarter was negative, but this quarter we were positive by 0.5%. But that was mainly driven on one side, 3 things. One was our imports were less and exports were more. That's one. The second thing was government expenditure was up, but government expenditure 85% on defense. So I don't say there is productivity coming. But what's very important is the third one: 9.2% appreciation in specifically resale home transfer fees or land transfer fees and other service lawyers fees, realtors fees, all that went up by 9.2% from Q2 to Q3.
So what that translates into, there's a shift in the market
There is more sales happening, more confidence
compared to last quarter.
compared to last quarter. However, Varun, you and I also understand even that statistic cautions. Even when you take Ontario, it shows positive growth. Even BC, positive growth. But then Ontario, it takes Ontario as a whole, but not necessarily looking at what GTA is going through and what other
Areas
outer skirts are going through. Its contribution mainly come from out of GTA.
out. And Riyaz, like, what you always stay positive. Like, this is maybe your colleagues or someone. Like, how do you stay positive in this tough market? Like, you like every single time when we have a conversation, there's no dull moment. You're always staying on top, and you're very positive. Like, how are you? How do you train your mind to stay focused and stay positive?
Thank you, Varun, and thank you, Varun, twice. Because one thing is that we always know, even in our industry now, or even when we were young, when we were in our sports teams, the first thing they say is surround yourself with like minded people and positive people, right? That is number one. You can't go into a depression, or you can't associate people that doesn't support your cause or in sync with you. Now, for example, I know you get up at 5, the 5 a.m. club.
Yeah.
I have been doing it for 5:30 for the last 10 and a half years. I shoot an email to you and I get a response. Now, that is me associating you because you're a positive person. Like-minded people get attracted. And if you take at real estate has ebb and flows. There are times where it's hard times and go. Say, the people who are going through a hard time, say for example, now people who bought properties in 2022, they're having a challenge in time because the prices were 34% higher than normal during that time. Now, when those people come to us, if we are also in not a positive mind, we are not able to advise them in the right way. So it's extremely important that we stay strong, we stay positive, and then we are able to think creative ways of help solving others.
Got it. Because you got to be positive to help others, because you don't want to go and see a doctor. The doctors are negative.
Exactly. And thanks, Varun, for keeping on pushing that concept. You as well as your team, I see that inbuilt in you guys, and people are complaining that you call them at 5 a.m.
It's okay. It's a good thing. So now we are talking this in December 2025. It's been a ride of an year. And now we are talking about 2026.
Correct.
What are your expectation, and what do you think this is going to look like in 2026?
Yeah, very good question. And you in the mortgage industry as a prominent individual, top 50 age companies, you would know better than me. And me being in the industry, I can give what I know from
I feel like a pulse in the market.
My knowledge.
Also pulse in the market
but
too.
one of the claims that I want to make is, 4 years ago, the man who knows everything about the country's ECG, the central bank governor, right? He himself said not going to raise interest rate for a long time, but he did raise
in a year,
in less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months,
right?
yeah.
So predictions are good. We can forecast from what knowledge we have, but we have to be mindful that these are predictions. In our practice, me and my son, what we look at is we see starting probably March, April, we would see the turnaround in the freehold market. Freehold homes started to move. It'll start moving, and moving in the sense prices are stabilized. Prices, you will not see prices going down. And people who are selling for less now are not people who bought before 2020, but the people who bought in the peak of February, March of 2022. And that dance is going to come to a stop. And the prices will stabilize. And I personally feel for freehold homes next year, for 2026, there might be a price appreciation of anything between 3.5 to 5%.
And that's interesting you brought it up, because in 2020, almost the party's coming to an end. Like, I think 2026 will probably the end of the year for the party.
Correct.
If you really think about the peak happened in 2021.
Correct.
And those mortgages are coming up for renewal. So you are right, because the peak, those deals close, and the other one who's saying affordability. So the inventory was kind of may get cleaned up.
Correct.
And these are like a pre-COVID houses that we are talking about.
Correct. Now, on the other hand, if you look at the condominium market, now I expect the condominium market to stabilize, the resale market. I don't see there would be any big drops of prices in the resale condominium market that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
But for prices to appreciate, I would think it will take at least 12 to 18 months. In other words, if somebody is buying a home today, a condominium at 500,000, he might be able to buy the same thing after 12 months for 500,000.
Yeah.
That's a fact that we have to face.
Because of the supply.
And also because it's not the supply in the resale market, but the options available from the new construction concluding. So people have the option of going there rather than going to the old one.
Yeah.
But again, the older buildings has a better floor plan than the newly closed one. Especially a kitchen can be called a kitchen, and kitchen is not in your living room.
Kitchen, yeah. No, it's a floor plan, and the facilities are better. And also, this leads into the first-time home buyers as well. I'm seeing a lot of first-time home buyers. They can still buy a condo under 600,000, 2-bedroom condo, and you can still raise a family of 4 or 5 people.
Correct.
And so it will be a good stepping stone of buying those condos was renting a basement apartment or renting a house or renting another condo. If you really break it down, it's
an amazing. Say, for example, now people can buy a resale condo at 2020 prices.
Yeah.
So all my clients
pre-COVID.
So all my clients who are buying condos now, when we start negotiating, we also look at that. Yeah, you would have paid a higher price for that condo in 21, 22, but at the end of the day, the condo market value, we are going back to the 2020 price. So that is where it is. And also there's a lot of option to bargain and a lot of opportunities, put a lot of conditions. Like recently we had a situation where the conditions were not 5 days conditions. We had 10 days condition.
For the status.
Not only status, for even finances.
Mm-hmm.
Because the sellers, because they have a choice. We have given them offer, reasonably good one, and we want this much of time.
It's too hard for them to refuse it.
It's too refuse, yes.
And no, I think we will be, hopefully, at the end of the day, we have to stay positive and we need to push through what we had to push through. And we had to make sure we take the clients a good care. And we had to make sure, maybe it's not the right time to buy everyone. It will be a right time for someone. Maybe not the right time for someone else as well. And we briefly, we had another discussion with a lawyer about the landlord and tenant, about the Bill C-60. I think that's also probably give a little bit of confidence for the condo investors,
correct,
or even maybe the regular investors as well.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, Varun, there is both parties, tenants are gaining as well as the landlords are gaining. That is why I find it to be fair. On one side, it's very important for landlords to know if there is a complaint. Let's say, for example, there's a complaint about the kitchen tap or something, or mold or something in that rental property. Act on it immediately, get it fixed, get it done.
Yeah.
So in the event they are delayed by rent or anything, when you go to courts, they can't pinpoint that as a reason to troll or delay your hearing.
Yeah.
Right? That's if there is nothing prior.
Yeah.
Right? But if that is there, that becomes an issue. Right?
Okay.
But what it has done is, when you go to courts, when you are speaking about it, no other issues saying I can't pay the rent because that's not working, this is not working, new issues cannot be arised.
Yeah.
That's one. The second one is, the most important one is, earlier, if a landlord wants to take the house back, he got to give, for his personal use, he has to give 3 months notice and 1 month rent pay.
Yeah.
Now it's 120 days or 4 months notice, no payments involved, for his own use.
These things will definitely give a confidence to the buyers. So, Riyaz, you brought up an interesting conversation. So, I think it's a FOMO, right? Like everyone gets into the market when everyone is buying. That's why the chaos has happened. But now, is not we are we have to be careful how we deliver it. So, I love your analogy of what we discussed about how it could be a tool. Real estate can be used as a tool to educate or to put your kids in the better schooling. Why don't you elaborate a little bit about what we...
I term it this way. You can use your investments that you make now to improve the intellectual capacity of your children.
How?
The reason is most of our children, even Varun, even if you or even the audience close your eyes and look at 10 parents and their children who are well educated, but they haven't done beyond their first degree. In a country, there is a university in every corner, every city. And one particular reason is because
finances.
They are used to taking a student loan.
They're tired of working, paying that off.
And then they drag on to pay the student loan. In between, they get married, they have children, they are doing well in their career. They forget about higher studies like doing your MBA or your PhD. So one of the things that you and I can speak to these people is, at the moment, condominium market is going through a very soft
landing
drive.
Yeah.
And you can buy a reasonably good or very good one at 2020 prices. And this is definitely going to go through the ceiling by 3031 when there is absolutely no supply of new condos in the market. That's a 5-year period.
Yeah.
So most likely your son or daughter would be entering university and exiting university during that period.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you invest at a 500,000, forget everything. Even if you keep 100,000 appreciation, which is a very low amount for a 5-year period, you are able to pay off the student loan.
Or able to finance the next education plan.
Or finance the next education, or even if it's marriage, gift it or whatever. Even if you pay off the student loan, she can finance the higher studies for the next degree. So which means they are going to improve their intellectual capacity. And that is one thing that is lacking in our community. That
so you can build a education wealth with the real estate wealth.
And generational
wealth. Yeah.
Generational
education is
generational real estate and intellectual wealth.
Because that has a multiple effect of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are training your next generation. Your grandchildren are going to benefit that from the education
100%.
as well as the real estate side of it.
Yeah. Because every year you host home buyer seminar.
Yes.
And you do education, and you had a great turnout last year. Are you planning on, you want to talk about your event for 2026?
Only thing, we are planning for somewhere in the third week of February.
Okay.
And along with you, like always, we did
it was a great
brokers and lawyers and other tax consultants. So we will look forward to that in the third week of February, and keep tuned and we'll keep you posted.
And if you're watching and if you want to join and if you want to learn, reach out to Riyaz and he can keep you in the loop, or he can send you the sign up.
You can do that. You can speak to Varun if you want your mortgages done. I have worked very closely with Varun, and one thing I can say is professionalism, I would say 121%.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Riyaz.